One, my name is Sonia Moffitt and I'm a career advisor here with Southern New Hampshire University's career team. I'll be moderating today's panel discussion and I am joined by my colleague Lori Lewis, who will be managing the chat box this evening. Before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping items that I want to go over. The first thing is sound check. So I want to just see if you guys can hear me okay. If you can just give me a quick answer there in the chat box. I just want to make sure that I'm loud and clear, number one, and number two, that you're not hearing distortions for my P's and D's and those strong letters. Looks like everybody can hear pretty well, and there's no popping. Very good, because that's very difficult for people to listen to over a prolonged period of time, so thank you so much for your feedback. This is a virtual panel discussion and interactive discussion. And therefore, we want to encourage you guys to ask questions in the chat box throughout the webinar, where our distinguished panelists will be on hand to respond. It is our goal to ensure all questions are answered, but we realize that an hour will limit us. So I thank those of you who sent your questions in advance, so we will definitely get to those questions first. But we realize that you might hear something during the conversation that might prompt additional questions. Or follow-up questions. So please feel free to type them in the chat box throughout this presentation, and keeping the following things in mind about the chat box. So we want to keep it federal career related questions only, okay? So if you can do that, that would be great. Also, please preface your questions in the chat box with the agency initials in caps with a dash, or the name of the speaker in caps with a dash, that you want to have answer your question throughout this event. And we want to do the questions throughout the event to make sure that we have time to get to everyone's questions. And so that interactivity is really going to help us to get that information out to you in a timely manner, and that immediacy and response that you guys want, because I know you have a lot of questions. If you want to address all agencies with the same question, please preface your question with the word all in a dash before the question. Please don't put your entire question in caps, however. Keep it clean and easy to read. And thank you so much for helping us out with this. Here are some examples of how to phrase your questions in the chat box as the evening goes on. And our panel will be doing the same for you guys, though if they're answering your specific question, then they will put your name first as well, so that you know they're answering your question, okay? And then I want you to take advantage of this chat box for the on-the-spot responses from these hiring authorities. Q&A will be at the end if we have time, and career assistance will be available to all of you beyond today's presentation. At the very top, if you scroll all the way up to the top of the chat box, you guys have been very active, so I know you're going to be a great group tonight. I do have the COCE career email. So if you have some subsequent questions that come up after this, because again, it's only an hour, please feel free to email your question into us, and then I will make sure that you get an answer within the next 72 hours, okay? So thank you so much for your attention to those details. And be advised that these are hiring authorities with the federal government, and your professional brand is going to be on display tonight. So be sure to keep your questions and comments strictly career related. And thank you so much for your cooperation with that. So I'd like to officially go ahead and welcome you all to our presentation, Pursuing a Federal Career Path in 2017, State of the Job Search, which is a panel discussion with our federal employers. We did have two sessions, one this morning at 12 noon and the other happening now. So you'll see some logos here from some agencies like TSA that won't be here this evening, but the recording will be available if you guys are interested in getting the first panel discussion if you were unable to make it. Just simply give us an email or email us, and we'll be happy to send that out to you later on in about a week or so. Maybe a week or two, because it takes them a little bit longer to get these things up on our website. These webinars are recorded, and they will be available on our website for your viewing, okay? So Thank you so much for that. I also want to go on to the next slide to just kind of go over, we're going to start to introduce our panelists this evening. A couple of people had some technical difficulties, so if I see them pop into the box, I'm going to go ahead and add them up. Adrian Mercer is one of those individuals, so I do apologize he's not been able to connect in due to the technical difficulties. But again, if you have any questions for the Department of Air Force, please send them in to us, and I will make sure that Adrian gets those answered for you. We also have with us tonight as one of our distinguished panelists, Mr. John Danilowitz, and I'm hoping that I'm saying your name right, John, because I can really butcher it sometimes if I'm if I've been talking a lot in the daytime. But I do want to do a proper introduction for John because he is with the State Department, and he is a career member of the Senior Foreign Service. He began his most recent assignment with the, most recent assignment as a diplomat in residence for New England based at the Fletcher School in 2015. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Something just happened to my own computer, so please forgive me for that. That's what happens during these live presentations. Sometimes things go wrong, but we're going to go ahead and get through it. So again, I apologize, and I'm going to warn you in advance. He also has some very difficult names that he's worked in cities and councils and countries, excuse me, that are pretty difficult to pronounce, but I'm going to get through it anyway. You guys can chuckle at me. Prior to beginning this assignment, John served as a Consul General at the U.S. Consulate General in Peshawar, Pakistan from 2014 to 2015, with responsibility for advancing U.S. interests in Pakistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, and the federally administered tribal areas. John earlier served as Deputy Chief of Mission and U.S. Embassy at Dhaka, Bangladesh from 2012 to 2014. Earlier in his career, John served multiple additional tours in Pakistan and Bangladesh and in Washington in the Bureau of South Asian Affairs. He was detailed to the faculty of the U.S. Naval War College, where he taught the Strategy and Policy Department from 2006 to 2007. He earlier graduated with highest distinction from the Naval Command and Staff College with his master's degree in National Security Studies in 2003. John is a graduate of Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, magna cum laude. John's other foreign postings include service at the U.S. embassies in Panama, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. He's also served in the United States Department Operations Center. His foreign languages include Bengali, Portuguese, and Spanish. He joined the Foreign Service in 1989 before the fall of the Berlin Wall. John is married to Nancy and is a proud father of 4 adult children. He was born in Worcester, Massachusetts, and is a lifelong Red Sox fan. So with no further ado, I'd like to say welcome to you, John. We're so glad to have you with us this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are in the country. Welcome.
Great, thanks. It's great to be here again.
Thank you so much. We look forward to learning more about the Department of State and some of the interesting things that you have going on with regards to internships and job opportunities, and also learning more about what you guys do, what your mission is. So thank you so much for being with us. All right, and then our next panelist is Kim Ainsworth, and I want to be able to had to skip over. So Kim Ainsworth was appointed as the Executive Director of the Greater Boston Federal Executive Board in 1998. She received a bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Massachusetts in 1991 and a Master of Science degree in Human Resource Development from Northeastern University in 1996. She began her federal career as a presidential management intern with the Environmental Protection Agency in 1996 and is now an employee of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Chief Human Capital Officer's Office. During the 2-year appointment, she did extensive work with Vice President Al Gore's National Partnership for Reinventing Government. After completing that program that coupled a series of developmental assignments and intensive coursework, Ainsworth assumed her current position where she is responsible for the implementation, planning, and program management for two FEBs, two lines of business, and FEB again is the Federal Executive Board. So Kim, welcome to you and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're really glad to have you with us. Kim? So I can see Kim is on the line, but she might be having some technical difficulties. So maybe you need to go in and come back out. I do apologize, but we're going to circle back around because I know you were there because I just talked to you a few minutes ago. All right, thank you so much, guys. And I just want to take one more look to make sure to see if any of our other panelists were able to get on here. All right. So Sean McGuire was having some issues with his system, so we're going to go ahead and talk to Steve Boyce, and I want to do his introduction. Steve Boyce is joining us from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and we're very, very glad to have you here as well this evening because I know there are a lot of students on the line who are interested in working for the FBI. Steve Boyce, Information Technology Specialist and Forensic Examiner in Training for the Bureau. Stephen is located at the Miami Division and has been with the FBI full-time since May 2015, and prior to that, served as an honors intern. Stephen received both his Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology and Master's of Science in Cybersecurity from Marymount University. Steve, it's great to have you with us this evening. Welcome. Stephen, you might have to unmute. I think I unmuted you and you remuted. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
All right. Thank you for being with us. And once again, once we can get some of the technical difficulties settled, then we'll go ahead and introduce the other panelists. But I want to go ahead and jump right into this. David Bynum is an adjunct professor here at SNHU and has an extensive background, but he too is having technical difficulties. I hope that students aren't having too much of a hard time. I hope you guys are able to stay connected this evening. All right, so I'm going to start off with the FBI, and I'm going to direct my questions towards you, Steve. If you can tell us a little bit more and describe the hiring process from application to hire.
Absolutely. Again, good evening, guys. My name is Steve. I'm a forensic examiner, no longer in training since almost a year now. But overall, the hiring process from application to hire varies per person. So like I spoke about, or like Sonia delineated earlier, that I was an intern before, my hiring process was a little different. So no matter what job you are entering in the FBI, whether an internship or a professional staff or a full-time position as a special agent, you're going to go through the entire process, the background check. So well, you're actually going to go through, you're going to apply, you're going to interview if selected, and from there you're going to be required to fill out SF-86 with various information for your security clearance. You're going to go through the background process, which includes a polygraph, and then from there, anywhere between 6 months onward, roughly, then you will be offered a what we call a conditional job offer.
Outstanding. And so what makes a candidate stand out for you as an employer?
So what makes a candidate stand out is the student or potential candidate that comes to us that goes beyond the program requirements. And what I mean by that is everyone here may be in different programs that require them to take certain classes. And you know, we have a lot of the programs throughout the country at different universities and academic institutions for a specific major like accounting. they're roughly the same, give or take a few classes. But there's those students that we look for that go beyond that, and that may, of the program requirements, they really like statistical analysis and go in depth in that and start doing research. So we were looking, what stands out the most is those students who go above what I say the course catalog or the university catalog.
Okay. Um, Tell us a little bit more about the testing and polygraphs once they're able to get to that point in the interview process. A lot of students get very nervous about the testing. Maybe they have test anxiety or conditions that may make them fail a polygraph test. What recommendations? I know there's a lot that you cannot tell us, but tell us a little bit more about those tests and what the students can expect to as much as you possibly can.
Absolutely. So a polygraph is standard across the board test that's testing um, your level of truthfulness to the questions that are being asked. One recommendation I always give to everyone, and that I think anyone who's been through a polygraph can give, is just be honest. A lot of people get nervous and go out and read things, and the night before we'll go out on the internet and try to do different tactics. Don't do any of that. If you are doing a polygraph, whether it's for our agency or any agency, just go into it with 110% honesty and be yourself. And don't worry about Googling or Binging. I always have to give credit to Google and Microsoft there. But don't go researching different tips and tricks. Just come into it 100% honest.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. I do believe that Sean was able to get onto the presentation. So, Sean, if you are able to, we'd like to welcome you. Can you speak into your microphone? Is it enabled?
Let's see, can you hear me?
I sure can. Welcome. Thank you so much. We're glad that you were able to get on. I know you were having quite the time before I explained to the group about that. But just to give if you don't mind, I'd like to just introduce you to the group now that you are joining us. You are also with the FBI. Sean is a special agent, and he earned his BA from the University of Colorado, Boulder, in 1996 with a double major in international affairs and Spanish. He earned his law degree from Florida International University in 2005 and is licensed as an attorney in Florida. Mr. McGuire practiced law in Southern Florida until he entered on duty as a special agent with the FBI in 2010. His first assignment was Wilmington, Delaware, where he conducted investigations in white-collar crimes and counterintelligence. He was transferred to Miami Division in 2014, where he continues to work national security and intelligence matters. So again, thank you so much for being with us and welcome to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're
Apologize for the
welcome.
delay. The
Oh,
lesson is
that's no
just
problem.
tenacity is the lesson, I think. Just keep trying.
Absolutely. And I guess you could say the same thing about being in the FBI. Someone had put into the chat box, they'd asked Steve, but I can ask you. They're asking, what are the odds of being hired by the FBI?
There are, well, I don't have a number for what the odds are, but there are many, many people who apply for, I'm not sure if you, for thousands of jobs, but there are many, many people. I've heard a couple of different numbers that it's a really low percentage of people who are able to get through.
Hmm. Do
However,
you?
the way,
Okay.
which is kind of depressing, I think. But on the other hand, the way to approach it from my perspective is to, well, to be tenacious about it, to really go after it. There are more than one position in the FBI. I'm a special agent, but there's also the analyst positions, the accountant positions, the staff support, the like Steve's position, and so to really go for the positions, not just, for example, in my case, I went for the special agent position, but I also wanted to go for the analyst position. There are methods within the bureau if you really wanted to be an agent, but you came in as an analyst for you to reassign yourself, to reapply, so that after you've been in the FBI for a while, you can go for the special agent position if that's what you prefer.
Nice. Thank you for that. Some other questions are coming in the chat box, but I did receive some questions that were brought into what were sent to me in advance. So I definitely want to make sure that I get into that. So you already talked about the types of jobs, so I appreciate that. But when we're looking at our diaspora of students across the country, we have a really mixed diversity or a diverse population of students. Some of them are new grads who may not have ever had a job before, whereas we have experienced professionals who are actually working in their field. Maybe they're pursuing their first or second advanced degree. And then we have people that are in between those two spectrums. And then we also have a large military veteran population. So can you tell me about how would, I think it really talks about career changers, but how do you talk to those people who are looking to break into the FBI? I know that that number you said it was pretty low, and it seems a little bit daunting. But are there ways that people can get into it based upon their experience or their education level, such as the FBI hiring initiative? Tell us more about how they can break into these careers.
Okay. Also, I guess to make it sound a little bit less daunting is those numbers are also based on a lot of people sometimes people who apply but decide to withdraw their application. So the numbers aren't quite that low, but or that difficult. But um, when you're, could you repeat the question actually? I
Sure,
distracted
and
myself
they
by
they are up on
typing
the
that.
screen, but the that's okay. The so the I do have them on the screen just in case I go out because I realize that sometimes with this technology it might be a little choppy. But the types of jobs that are available depending on that person's level of experience. So we have new grads who may not have ever had a job, or maybe they're working in completely unrelated fields right now to kind of pay the bills while they're finishing up their degree. Then we have those experienced professionals who are pursuing those master's degrees. And then we have our military population. So if you can kind of speak a little bit to each of those populations on strategies on how they can break into their career. First, starting with that new grad.
Well, with the new grad, we if you go to the FBI jobs.gov website, there is specific information on on the FBI's initiative to hire people straight out of college, and also for people who are interested in internships, paid internships. So the way that you would do it is you would go to the FBI jobs website, set up your profile, and when you go in there, you'll be able to, once you get your profile set up and you get your resume in there, then you can go in and you can look at the opportunities that are available either while you're still in school or if you're a recent graduate. Now, and
All
those
right.
are the initiatives to take people straight from college. Positions like the one I'm in as a special agent, you do need to have prior experience,
Mhm.
and you can use a combination of experience and education. For example, and you need 3 years of experience, full-time working experience. But for example, actually started with the FBI late in my career. I had actually had a couple of previous careers, but if I had come straight out of law school, I would be able to use some of my advanced degree, meaning the JD, to count as part of my working experience. The other thing is,
Okay.
yeah, most people, like let's say that you're getting your advanced degree or you have your advanced degree, um, that is something that sets you apart. But the other thing is if you, let's say that you got your bachelor's degree and then you have been working for a while and either you went back and you got your advanced degree or while you're working you got your advanced degree. These are all things that add to the mix of things that you're able to bring with you when you're applying to set yourself apart, I mean.
Excellent. All right, thank you for that. We have several questions that are in the chat box, so I'd like to go and visit those questions as well. And so I don't want to put you completely on the spot, Sean, so I'm going to divert over to Steve at this time and see if he can field some of the questions that we have here. Um, all right, so Steve, can you enable your microphone there? Awesome. All right, so Tashi Hamilton says, "Hello, Steve. I'm studying forensic accounting and fraud examinations, so I am excited to hear what you have to offer in that area. Tell us, do you have a lot of positions in forensic accounting? I know that Sean just mentioned if people are coming with a background in specialized fields or special disciplines, that they should try to enter that way first with what they know and what they've done, and then try to get a special agent position. So how can Tashi, um, how prevalent are these types of positions with your agency?
So I can speak firsthand on a former classmate that I went to school with who was an accountant. Went to school, graduated roughly 2 years ago, and entered the FBI through the collegiate hire program, not traditionally in a job that she ideally thought she was going to land herself in coming out of college, with hopes of being a forensic accountant. So the best recommendation that I always give to people who want these in forensic accountant jobs range per office. So for instance, in Miami, we roughly have around six, right? So roughly maybe one or two of them may be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years, give or take, or may leave. You know, you just never know. They may have a career change, become a special agent, whatever you have it. But my recommendation is take up any position that you can with the FBI, and once you're in, you will have the upper hand as opposed to someone coming off the street. So although you may have an accountant degree or maybe a CPA, for instance, or be a certified fraud examiner, take those positions within the FBI. It may be a support position or an analyst position or something of that nature, but you will be able to utilize those skills. And then once that position opens up, again, you know, you will have the inside knowledge. You'll be working with those folks, and you can from there you can network with you know, with different offices and different managers within the FBI to you know, try to work out something. But what I always tell people is, you know, apply for any position. You know, the position that I applied to when I first came in was not the current position that I am in now. This was my dream job, and it took me several steps to get there.
All right. Thank you. And Alicia Stratford has a similar or a question that's related to that. So I think you answered portion of her question, but let's see here. She's asking, is there going to be projected growth in the area of forensic accounting? So it sounds like we have a lot of people on the line who are interested in that area. So do you foresee any type of growth in that area of the FBI, especially with regards to counterterrorism?
Um, yes and no. One of the FBI's main priorities is national security as it relates to cyber. Is I would say one of the biggest pushes of the FBI currently. At one point, you know, accountants and lawyers were, I would say, in high pursuit and high demand. But I can't say I've heard anything where, you know, specific targeting of, you know, a need for accountants or a shortage of accountants. We're in a great need and shortage of cyber personnel and technical personnel. But like I said, again, that's why I recommend those to apply to any of the positions, maybe the intel positions, where you will be utilizing those skills. And so as a forensic accountant or as an accountant in general, you can utilize those accounting skills. And if you were, for instance, assigned to a national security, you know, squad, what we call a squad or a unit, you would be able to use those skills that you learn through internal training, as well as your accounting skills to maybe do something like financing of, you know, criminals using financing, and then you'll be able to utilize those skills as well. So there's a lot of flexibility in positions within the.
All right, thank you. Um, Sean, let me ask you this one. What are the physical requirements of the position of a special agent?
Well, the physical requirements are not a specific, say, height and weight or anything like that, but there is a physical fitness test requirement. So when you apply, one of the things that, as a special agent, one of the things that you're going to need to do in the process is to pass a physical fitness test. And that's a specific profile of how you do the push-ups and the sit-ups and everything that makes it unfortunately for me, a little bit more difficult than just regular push-ups and sit-ups. But at any rate, it includes push-ups, sit-ups, a 300-meter sprint, and a 1.5-mile run with a 5-minute or less rest in between those. And what will happen is when you apply, remember the process takes usually about a year, sometimes more. So when you first apply, it's a good idea to start getting in shape if you're not already in good shape. But the thing that throws people off a little bit is that these particular exercises in order right after each other are more rigorous than it sounds because we're used to doing them one at a time when we go to the gym and work out. So what you will do is after you have passed the first part, once you get selected to go to the first part of the process and you've passed that first part, then you'll be invited to let them know when it is that you're ready to try for the physical fitness test. And then along the way, you'll continue to do the physical fitness test just to make sure that you're keeping in shape since it's just such a long process.
All right, wonderful.
And then,
There is another question. I'm sorry, were you done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
well, I was
off.
going to say, yeah, the former director had reinstituted that we have physical fitness tests each year while we're agents also, not just while we're in the academy.
Wow.
And so you do the same exercises, but the requirements change according to, you have to hit different numbers that are according to your age category. But you get up to 3 hours paid to work out, and it's a pretty physical fitness oriented culture anyway. So it is a little bit challenging to keep that level of fitness, but it's not. It's really, I think it's doable. The other thing
Awesome.
is when you come in, you got to be older than 23, and you can't be older than 37. That's only for the special agent position. The other positions in the FBI doesn't have any kind of an age requirement.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because a couple of people were asking about age requirements, and that's come up a couple of times in the box. It is my understanding, however, if a person is in the military, has a military background, I guess I think it's 20 years, that if they do exceed the 37, just depending on the role that they were in the military and the secret security clearances that they had, that they would actually be able to join the FBI based upon those criteria despite their age.
Yes,
Is
sort
that
of.
correct?
Yeah, veterans and in some cases,
Sean, your voice kind of went out on us. I'm not sure if you're having connectivity issues. But Steve, would you like to hone in on this while we lost Sean? And this is the question about military veterans who want to belong to the FBI and are older than 37.
Are you talking in relation to the special agent position or just in general?
Both,
Okay, so
because
yes,
I'm sure that we have military veterans. Hmm.
absolutely. So for the so as any veterans in here, again, thank you for your service. In the federal government, we do have what we call veterans preference, and so with that, for the we call our professional staff positions, there's no age requirement. You would get if you have veterans preference and status based on the point system that is set forth by OPM, you will fall into that category and compete on that level. In terms of the special agent, there is a waiver, and Sean may know the exact
yeah,
age requirement.
I'm back.
There you go. There you
Yes,
go.
I'm back. Sorry.
Sean can speak about the veterans age requirement and waiver, but there is a waiver for the age if you are coming out of active duty.
Yeah, so it's up
Wonderful.
to 3 years, and it'll depend on a case-by-case basis, but it's up to 3 years. So, for example, when I was in the academy, I thought I was going to be the oldest person in there because I turned 37 a few months after I joined the academy, went to the academy. But I didn't get to have that honor. There was people who had just turned 40 There were two people who had just turned 40, so it is possible. But also they look at the waiver, so you do have to earn the waiver to do it. And what's
Outstanding.
involved
Thank
in the
you.
waiver
Um,
process, I don't myself know. It's on a case-by-case basis.
All right. We have a link to your website over in the supplemental link. So students, if you see the supplemental links over on the left-hand side lower corner, all of these are links that have been provided by our employment partners from both panel discussions today. And you guys can feel free to click on those and bookmark those, and also supplemental documents that are available. Sean, thank you so much for elaborating on that. This question was for the FBI, but I think I'm going to field it. I think I also saw Kim Ainsworth field this question as well. It's from Kara Davis, and a couple of other people wanted an answer to this question as well. She's asking, if I were graduating with an online degree, does that put me at a disadvantage when it comes to being hired on? Do people with degrees from brick and mortar schools have a better chance of being hired? So Sean, can you speak to that one at all?
Well, the question is really just that it's an accredited program. And then beyond that, it's just a question of what your degree is and how that sets you apart when you're in I wouldn't say in the first phase, but when you get into the parts where you have your interviews, how well you're able to articulate that your education was high quality, that your experiences are high quality experiences, and that the experiences that you're using show that you're a good choice, a good candidate. Now, I would say, for example, like I went to the University of Colorado. If it became between me and somebody from one of the Ivy League schools, I might be at a disadvantage. But on the other hand, it never comes down specifically to that question. So if I really did well on the tests and on the interview process, then the fact that they went to Harvard or Yale and I went to the University of Colorado, it probably would not factor in very much.
I think that's great. Thank you for answering that. I do want to add on to it as a career advisor here at SNHU. We are an accredited university, and we also have a brick and mortar campus that's located in Manchester, New Hampshire. However, I love what Sean said about his in comparing himself with someone who had been to an Ivy League, because what we see as career advisors, and Lori Lewis, who is also my colleague on the line as a business development specialist, and talking to any employer, a degree is not the golden ticket. They're also looking for your KSAs, or what they consider knowledge, skills, and abilities. And so demonstrated knowledge, demonstrated skills, demonstrated abilities do far outweigh at times education, because many people have a degree or an advanced degree. So now what else is your value proposition? What are you bringing to the table? So one of the things that we help you do, Kara, and for those of you who are wondering, is we here at SNHU Career help you with developing your federal resume and your resumes in general, in terms of the content, and demonstrating those achievements that you have, and demonstrating those KSAs to our employer partners. And the last thing I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to take away from the panelists, is that we actually have federal agents who are students here at SNHU pursuing their higher degrees, master's degrees. And one of them happens to be a recruiter for the FBI. And I recently had 3 of my students personally who have recently been hired into the collegiate hiring initiative. They applied last year and they got their offers this year in April. So absolutely, as you can see here at SNHU, we are very well connected with these organizations based upon not just those testimonials, but by the quality of the panelists that we have here with us today. So Kara and the rest of you, I hope that that gives you a great idea of how your education and your experience and your KSAs all come together and culminate the best candidate that you can be. So thank you so much for that question. That was a lot of people really honed in on that particular issue. I know that you guys have a lot more questions for the FBI, but we are running down on time. So I want to invite Sean and Steve to interact in the chat box. You can go up and check out some of the questions that some of the students have here, because I definitely want to talk to some of the other panelists. And I really would like to start that. First of all, thank you, Sean and Steve, for the insightful information that you were able to share with our students. And then I would like to talk to John, who is with the State Department, because I know that there are a lot of career options there as well. So, John, if you can unmute your microphone, I'd like to ask you some questions about the Department of State.
Sure, great.
Wonderful. So thank you for being with us this evening. I really do appreciate it. You were also on our first panel. You had some wonderful information to share with our students, and I want to dive right into that. Tell people about the Department of State and your function.
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, as was mentioned earlier, I'm a career Foreign Service officer, currently serving as a diplomat in residence here in New England, based at Tufts University. So as a diplomat in residence, my job is to be a recruiter for the State Department. There are 16 of us spread throughout the United States, so wherever you are, there's a diplomat in residence who has responsibility for the area in which you live. So the Department of State is the United States' lead foreign affairs agency. There's a link listed to our careers website, careers.state.gov. So I would encourage you to look at that for information about the opportunities at the State Department. We have locations around the world. Domestically, we're based in Washington, D.C., but we do have domestic offices. We have diplomatic security field offices throughout the United States. We have offices of our Office of Foreign Missions. We also have passport agencies in many cities, and we have our financial center in Charleston, South Carolina. We also have facilities overseas in over 270 locations. Overall, the Department of State has about 75,000 employees. 14,000 of those are Foreign Service officers or specialists, and there are about 11,000 civil service employees. Just to touch on a couple points that were mentioned earlier and earlier today, for most of our opportunities, only American citizens may apply. For civil service opportunities, I would suggest that candidates look specifically at the vacancy announcements to see what requirements there may be. My understanding is there's no maximum age for civil service positions. For foreign service positions, the minimum age for employment is age 21, and then the maximum age for employment to be employed is 59, because for foreign service officers and specialists, we have a mandatory retirement age of 65. Like other law enforcement agencies, though, for our diplomatic security special agent positions, the minimum age to be hired is 21, the maximum age is 37, but similar waivers apply for individuals with military experience and veterans preference. Speaking of veterans, we have an active veterans program office at the State Department that's there to help veterans. The email address is vets@state.gov, and they will collect resumes from veterans who are interested in looking at opportunities in the civil service. In recent years, between 30 and 40% of our new hires in the civil service have been veterans. Veterans preference also applies for foreign service positions, but it applies at the end of the process as people are placed on a rank ordered register. We also actively encourage individuals with disabilities to apply for opportunities at the State Department. Those who qualify for Schedule A hiring authority are able to be hired non-competitively for civil service positions, and there is a selective placement office at the State Department that assists those individuals. There's not a non-competitive hiring eligibility for foreign service positions for individuals with disabilities. However, accommodations can be made to allow most individuals with disabilities to serve overseas, provided they can also attain a medical clearance. There are several other categories of individuals who have non-competitive hiring eligibility for State Department civil service positions, in addition to veterans and individuals with disabilities. This includes participants in a number of State Department exchange programs, including our Gilman Scholarship for Study Abroad, the Critical Language Scholarship, and the Fulbright program. Returned Peace Corps volunteers also receive non-competitive hiring eligibility. Another program which is currently our single highest hiring priority is our Consular Fellows program. This is a limited up to 5-year appointment for individuals to serve overseas in an embassy or consulate doing consular work. We're specifically recruiting individuals with proficiency in Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic. And there's information on our careers.state.gov website about that program. That program also provides non-competitive hiring eligibility for civil service positions to individuals who complete 4 years as consular fellows. I've also left a link on this or an information on the supplemental files about a variety of student programs. We have internship programs available around the year. We have our largest program, the Foreign Service Internship Program, has 3 cycles, spring, summer, and fall. We're currently recruiting for spring 2018. Those applications are due on June 30th. We'll next have applications open in September for our summer 2018 internships. These internships take place at our embassies and consulates abroad, not all, but many, and also at a number of our domestic locations, including Washington, D.C. We also have a virtual student foreign service internship program. Again, there's a link for that on the supplemental links. The VSFS program allows individuals to work in partnership with embassies and consulates and domestic offices working on specific projects. And there are a number of agencies beyond the State Department that participate in this program. That program will open soon for applications during the month of July. And then the internships, the virtual internships, take place throughout an academic year. Finally, just to touch briefly on the federal hiring freeze. While the federal hiring freeze as a whole has been lifted, the State Department has chosen to keep the hiring freeze in effect. That said, our recruitment efforts continue for positions in the Foreign Service. So we're continuing to offer the Foreign Service exam. We're continuing to recruit for Foreign Service Specialist opportunities, including the Consular Fellows Program. And on a case-by-case basis, we'll also fill other positions. Somebody had a question earlier about the timeline. It does take a long time from the time you apply or take a test to when you might be hired for the State Department. Largely, this is because of security clearances, which can take a length of time, particularly if you have extensive foreign travel or foreign ties. The State Department does not require polygraphs as part of our security clearance process. But again, the same advice would apply to be fully forthcoming and honest as you fill out your security clearance forms. Many potential grounds for ineligibility can be overcome or mitigated, particularly with time. But what's very difficult, if not impossible to mitigate, is lying in the application process. So I'll stop there and answer any questions.
Well, I thank you for that. Thank you for addressing the hiring freeze as well. So the Foreign Service Specialist position, now, is that specific to a discipline, as a particular field or a particular degree
So there are a
program?
number of different Foreign Service specialties, ranging from administrative support positions, including human resources, general services, facilities maintenance, finance. Also, our security positions, the diplomatic security special agent, security engineering officer, diplomatic courier are considered specialists. We also have construction engineers, facilities managers, medical personnel, nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, social workers. We also have information management officers and specialists. So there are a variety of specialist fields. Each of those requires specific education and specific work experience. So again, the advice is to read the vacancy announcement. To touch on something that was noted earlier, some of our positions do require certain degrees from accredited institutions. Others, for example, becoming a foreign service officer, the only requirement is that one be 21 years old, an American citizen, and available for worldwide assignment. That said, 80% of the people we hired last year had an advanced degree, either a master's, a doctorate, or professional degree. What we're looking for more than a specific degree or even, frankly, a grade point average is the whole candidate set of experiences and background. So if you look on our website, we have 13 dimensions that we look for Foreign Service generalist officers, and there are 12 mainly overlapping dimensions that we look for in specialists. And then each civil service vacancy announcement will have the specific requirements for that job.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that. We have a lot of questions for you. I'm going to ask a couple of more. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to make note that we are almost at the 8 o'clock hour. So I'm not sure how long you guys can stay on, but I'm willing to go over a little bit if you guys are willing to. I'm not sure about our panelists. You can send me an inbox to let me know. But I just want to make sure that we can answer as many questions as possible. But also, panelists, please feel free to interact with the students in the chat box. I do have a follow-up question for you. It looks like John can stick around. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. So State Department's going to stick around a little bit longer. And I think, yes, Steve is going to stick around too. So thank you guys. We really appreciate this. This has been such a great discussion tonight, and we're learning a lot. So we definitely appreciate your time. Kim, I know that you're out there, and I will be calling on you very soon. But I did have some additional questions for John. And so let me ask you this one. So there's a question from a student. It says, do you have Intel positions? You did kind of talk about that there were a variety of disciplines and positions that you hire for. Another person asked
Sorry,
about,
can I just let
is
me
there
just on
are
that. So the way the State Department is
okay.
organized, we have both regional and functional bureaus. One of our functional bureaus is the Bureau for Intelligence and Research, which is the State Department's analytical intelligence arm. That bureau has a mix of foreign service and civil service employees. So from time to time, civil service openings in that bureau will be advertised through the USA Jobs website.
Outstanding. I was actually going to ask you about that. Are all of your jobs and internships housed on USA Jobs, or should they go directly to your site for those opportunities, or will that site send them to USA Jobs
So
anyway?
the best is to go onto the careers.state.gov website to get the background information. The actual vacancy announcements are posted on USA Jobs. There's also a Keep Me Informed function on the landing page for the State Department Careers website. And if an individual signs up on that, they'll get emails when their vacancy announcements posted. There's a similar functionality in USA Jobs, but for interest in State Department specific positions, I would recommend that people go to our careers website as well.
Nice. So it's is it better for them just to initially go to your site, or is it better, because it sounds like most of all of your jobs are going to be on your site, but only a few of them on USA Jobs. Is that what I'm hearing?
So again, Keep Me Informed is probably if you had one place to go on the careers.state.gov is probably the best because you will get an email
Okay, perfect.
from the State Department when a vacancy announcement is posted, and that will then direct you to USA Jobs. But in some ways, you'll get information in a more timely manner if you go through our website.
All right, wonderful. Okay, I know that you had talked, let's see, Leah Hicks, I want to make sure that I'm looking for ones with your name on it. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, John. Just give me a second here. I'm scrolling up the box. Okay, so Brandon Bickler was asking about the website. And so, Brandon, if you look over at the supplemental links on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to see the link to the Department of State Careers. Okay, it's kind of towards the bottom of the list there. You also see the State Department virtual internships link there as well. Thank you so much for that. Let's go up a little bit more. See if I see any other for state. So we already answered about the different positions. I just don't want to ask us something that's foreign service career entails. So I think you pretty much touched on a lot of these. You did elaborate on what the foreign service careers entail, and it looks like this let me see, the specialist, the foreign service specialist, it really deals with all disciplines. It also sounds like having another language or two under their belt is going to be essential to getting a job with your agency, obviously. So could you just go over those recommended languages that you
Sure.
look for
Well, for
with the State Department?
specific positions, so I mentioned the consular fellows positions. So there we're recruiting for individuals with proficiency in specific languages, Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic. In the hiring process, though, for foreign service positions, there is additional credit given for language proficiency. There are certain critical languages or incentive languages, including Hindi, Urdu, Arabic, Mandarin, Russian, Korean, Farsi. That list changes from time to time. I should say for students as well, there is a State Department program, the Critical Language Scholarship, which provides funding for a summer overseas study in certain languages. The Department of Defense also has a program called the BOREN, BOREN Scholarship, which similarly provides funding for overseas study for languages. That has a different list of languages and is for a longer period of time.
Are these found on your website, on the
There's
Department of State Careers
um,
website,
there, on the
or is
student
there another area
programs
that they have to?
one pager under supplemental files, it mentions these as well as some of our fellowship programs, but there are separate websites as well for both critical language scholarship and for the Boren, and I'll put those in the chat box.
Sounds great. And so everyone, if you can just bring your attention really quickly to the supplemental files that he's mentioning. Under here, you will see a series of files, whether they are PDFs or PDFs or PowerPoints. You guys can click on each of these individually and download those files to your computer so that you can go through it. It's a lot of information, but we've talked about a lot of it, and so these are supplements to the conversation. So if you want to know what the scholarships were, for example, someone was asking about the Gilman Scholarship or the Boren Scholarship information. Thank you for putting that in, by the way. So those will be in the supplemental files for you guys. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it and enjoyed this. I think that we've been able to get a lot of great information out of you about the State Department and really understanding your function and the type of careers that are available. So as John mentioned, you guys might want to look into going into one of these getting a foreign scholarship so that you can start to get your languages or add languages to your repertoire, which is going to make you more attractive as a candidate. All right, so Kim Ainsworth has been really, really busy in this chat box. John, I want to thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. I keep moving on without saying thank you. All right. So Kim Ainsworth, I see that you have been very busy in the box. I love the fact that you are in red in here because I can see all of the answers that you have in here. Are you able to
I am. Can you hear
enable your
me?
microphone?
Hi, good. I'm sorry about
I
earlier. I had to log
can.
out and log
Hello,
back
how are
in, but
you?
I'm happy to just stay on the chat box. I think these gentlemen have much cooler things to talk about than me. So, but I'm kind of yeah.
Well, I do have I have a couple of questions for you, though. I can't let you off the hook that easy,
No, I don't.
if you don't mind. All right. Let me just introduce you because I know that earlier I kind of didn't introduce you because you weren't on yet. I knew you were struggling with some of the technical stuff. But you guys, Kim Ainsworth was appointed as the Executive Director of the Greater Boston Federal Executive Board in 1998. She received a bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Massachusetts in 1991 and a Master of Science degree in Human Resource Development at Northeastern University in 1996. She began her federal career as a presidential management intern with the Environmental Protection Agency in 1996 and is now an employee of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Chief Human Capital Officer's Office. During the two-year appointment, she did extensive work for Vice President Al Gore National Partnership in Reinventing Government. After completing the program that coupled a series of developmental assignments with intensive coursework, Ainsworth assumed her current position where she is responsible for the implementation, planning, and program management for two of the FEB's two lines of businesses. So I appreciate that. Tell us what the Federal Executive Board
We
does. What's
are
the function?
in a nutshell, we are a federal government agency, and we are like a chamber of commerce for federal agencies. So I work with all federal agencies here in the greater Boston area um, to help implement some of the national initiatives that we have out there. And as part of that job, I do a lot of talks on to promote public service. I go out and talk to student groups, but also veterans organizations, disability organizations, and basically anybody who will listen about how to working for the federal government.
You know, I really am curious about something that is in your background that I hope that you can speak to the students about, because we do have a number of people who are pursuing their master's degree. You actually were a presidential management intern. So is that the
It
same
is.
as the
It's been
presidential
the name
management
has been
fellowship?
changed, but
And if so, tell the students about that.
Presidential
Okay,
Management
tell the
Fellows
students
Program,
about that.
affectionately known as the PMF program, is part of the federal government's Pathways hiring program. So if you are a student, there's 3 different ways to become employed with the federal government as both a student and then post-degree. The Presidential Management Fellow Program is specifically for graduate and law students. And you apply during your last year. It's usually in October. And it's basically a 2-year management training program. So I always say, much like if you worked at a grocery store chain and you got hired, you'd rotate through different positions within an agency, and then at the end of the 2 years, be converted over into a professional position in the agency. So when I was hired by the Environmental Protection Agency right out of grad school and worked there for 2 years before becoming a permanent employee. There's thousands of these positions nationwide, some worldwide, in other parts of the country, and it's a great way to enter non-competitively into the government. Very similar program for undergraduates as part of the Pathways program. And there's also internship programs. So if you are interested in learning more, you can visit just Google Pathways programs or on USA Jobs. There's a student section that has a link to all of the student programs.
Yes, the link to USA Jobs, everyone, is over in the supplemental links as well. And as Kim mentioned, you can go into the keyword box there and type in pathways once you get into USA Jobs, and it'll bring up the opportunities, pathway opportunities, all of them. I wouldn't recommend that you put in a location initially, especially if you're open to relocation. Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you sticking around and interacting with the students in the chat box. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our students
No,
before
thanks for
we
the opportunity. I'm
conclude this
sorry
evening?
I was late, but I learned a lot myself. So I hope you all at some point consider a career with the federal government.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I'm putting up some poll questions here this evening because I definitely want to get your feedback, students, in terms of this evening's presentation. And I did put in the box that I hope that we can be done by 8:15 this evening. So thank you so much to our just distinguished panels. I really appreciate you all being here this evening and sharing your expertise with us. Um, to Steve Boyce of the FBI, Sean McGuire of the FBI, Kim Ainsworth of the Federal Executive Board, and John Danilowitz from the State Department. I appreciate you guys being here and sharing your expertise with the students. And students, I know that 1 hour is not a long time for you to be able to get all of the information that you need. So we have a wonderful career services team here at SNHU, and we're here to support you because each of you are unique. You have different situations, different family lives, different professional backgrounds. So please feel free to reach out to us. If you scroll to the very, very top of the chat box, you will see COCE Career at snhu.edu. And there you can go ahead and email us, and we'll be able to connect you with your dedicated career advisor for your degree program so that you're getting that specialized information that you need to really talk and really craft your resume in a meaningful way and to help bring out, as we mentioned earlier, those KSAs. All right, thank you for answering that. I have about 7 more questions, and these won't take too long, I promise. So let me do this. And then if you can complete the statement, overall today's presentation was, and once again, you guys can download all of these documents. I will keep the presentation room open for you so you don't have to feel like you're at a rush to do this. I love your comments, by the way. I'm not sharing them with everybody out there, but thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We want to make sure that you guys are able to get the information that you need to be successful in this process. And if you know what to do, in addition to the degree that you're getting here at SNHU to position yourself as a highly qualified candidate for one of these agencies, then by all means, we want to make sure that we position you to do that. So thank you so much for the positive feedback. I definitely appreciate that. All right, the next question that I'm going to put up here is complete the following statement. I would like to see this topic return in January or in June. So I know that earlier, I think it was John who had mentioned some of the internship opportunities are coming up. There is a deadline on June the 30th. So check out his one-pager down at the bottom, State Department, Student Programs, one-pager. And also look into the Federal Collegiate Hiring Initiative from the FBI. They'll be starting that, I believe, around August, if I'm not mistaken, this year for people who will be hired for that next year. And as I mentioned earlier, 3 of our students have successfully gone through the process and are starting actually in July. I think it's when they start their opportunity. So I would love to see more of you out there, and we can help you craft your federal resume and walk through this with you step by step. That's what we're here to do. All right, I'm going to put the next question up on the board, number 4. And let me open it up. I learned many things I never knew before today. Nice. And then the next one. We always want to make sure that we are providing a great student experience for you. So please be very candid. Any suggestions that you have on improving these types of presentations. Of course, we can't do too much about technology because we're not in control of Wi-Fi and things of that nature. But outside of technology, what can we do to improve the sessions? I also want to remind you guys that we did have an earlier session, so these will be the recordings will be available to you on our website so that you guys can go and listen to the earlier session as well. Someone mentioned that it would have been nice to see someone from FEMA. FEMA was actually on our first presentation, and they did do quite an extensive presentation during that one. So if you want to, go ahead and email me at that COCE career website or email that I put into the box, and I will be able to send you a copy of that presentation, okay? Or you can wait. It'll be up on the website within the next 2 weeks, either one, either or. All right. All right, and then we also have some great opportunities coming up. Our business development specialist, my wonderful colleague Lori Lewis, who I want to say thank you so much to for your help this evening, is doing some wonderful things with the FBI and with another agency as well. So I'm going to put that back up on the screen because I think it would be really valuable for you guys to attend these. These are hiring events. Lori deals directly with hiring and internships and things of that nature. So I want you guys to be able to see that. And right now I have the poll kind of hiding the information, but I'm going to remove this in a couple of seconds. I think I just have 2 more questions for you. So here we go. This is the second to the last question that I have. Let me try to reveal a little bit more of that. I'm hoping you don't have any answers down there, but maybe someone does. Awesome. All right, and then my last one here. Actually, I think that was my last one. All right, here it is. This is the one. So did today's presentation increase your understanding of these agencies? And that is the final poll question for the evening. Then I'll go ahead and reveal the supplemental links and files for you guys. So tune in via webinar, just like you are today, for Peter Darling, Special Agent and Program Manager for Training and Development for the Department of Homeland Security, HSI, and Sean Mayer, who is on the line. Well, Sean actually wasn't on the line tonight, but he's also Program Manager for Recruitment with CBP. Explore exciting opportunities within the Department of Homeland Security, including special agent and analyst positions. So I heard in the chat box a couple of you are interested in analyst positions. Also customs and border protection officer roles. And again, sometimes breaking into these federal careers may mean going into an entry level role. So just something to consider if you are completing your associate's or bachelor degree levels. This is going to be on Tuesday, August the 15th at 7 p.m. in a platform exactly like this one. You'll also discover hiring tips and develop an insider perspectives of employment and this respected and desirable federal law enforcement agency. And you guys can register for that at the supplemental links below. You will see webinar, and then you'll see the Department of Homeland Security. If you click on that and then browse to it, it'll open up the page where you can go ahead and register. And then tune in via web device to meet Peter Darling. Okay, so I already said that one. Sorry about that. But there is another one for the FBI that they're going to be having, and you guys can click on that as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to join them. Do we have any other questions this evening? Lori Lori actually has been very instrumental in helping us with getting our students into these internship opportunities. So Lori, I don't know if you want to go ahead and enable your microphone and talk to us a little bit about the two events that you have coming up.
Okay.
It's a little bit low.
Let's see if this is a little bit better.
Louder.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for also announcing our upcoming sessions. We, of course, have our session on Tuesday, August 15th with Department of Homeland Security. And then on September 11th, we are hosting an event with the FBI. And, of course, in part, we are going to be discussing the internships because they're open through approximately Columbus Day for the following year. So we want to make sure that everyone has that information. We'll also be discussing other full-time roles, specifically in the professional staff as well as the agent side. And so definitely would love to have you attend that session as well. And it will be the same format as Sonia had mentioned too. So you'll be able to ask questions and it will be a live event in both those sessions, Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. Thanks, Sonia.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So guys, this is it for the evening. I am 1 minute shy of 8:15, so we did it. Thank you so much for being with us this evening again, to our distinguished panel, to Lori Lewis, my right-hand person, and to all of you, our students here at SNHU. We are here to support you, so I know that you may have some follow-up questions. Please don't hesitate to give us a call or email us. I'm going to put our email address here again into the chat box just in case you need that before you go, so you don't have to scroll up for that. Or you can give us a call at 888. I'm going to put that in the box as well so that you guys can have both our phone numbers and our email address, 672-1458. And then when you call, you can just ask to speak with your dedicated career advisor for your degree program. I hope that you all have a great evening, and it looks like a lot of you did get some good things out of this session this evening. I know that an hour is not long enough for all of this, so just remember, our career services are not one-shot deals. It's not a one and done. This is really an overview to help you with your career planning as you're completing your degree, and we are here to support you one-on-one. If you contact us, we will be here for you, okay?